doing that.
Do you think, should there be, just to tie into this real quick, do you think there should be some sort of promotional aspect of the Fund for the Arts? If there are 3 events a day, that's something that no news organization would be able to cover, especially in a time like now. That's something that no one's going to be able to hear about through any of the means that exist right now.
So what can the Fund for the Arts do? Can I influence Gannett? Probably not. Okay, I love the vote.
You can talk in ice cubes, Barbara. Come on.
Just start my own newspaper. There we go. One thing I would like to say, I haven't counted the number of times the Fund for the Arts has been in the paper since last March, but my gosh, there for a long time it was every day. And even when the direction of the conversation changed, and the direction of the conversation did change and went in a different direction, they stayed with it. They stayed with it. Why is that? Because I did what you were suggesting we do, open our board meetings. So that Elizabeth Kramer and Gabe has attended, I think you were with us in November.
I've been to a few, yeah.
Right, and Gabe's been to a few board meetings.
You're saying that's something new, is what you're saying.
Yes, it is, absolutely. Because the question of why aren't the Fund for the Arts board meetings open, well, and why don't they run according to the Sunshine Law? Legally speaking, we do not receive 20% of our funding from the government, therefore we're not required to follow that law. However, publicly speaking, it's the right thing to do, so we opened the door, and not only did we open it, we invited Gabe and we invited Elizabeth to come and to be there. And I will continue to do that. I'll continue to do that. I think it's helpful. Emily, you had something.
Well, a number of the questions or topics we're kind of touching on really are about arts advocacy and creating an effective and really strong grassroots legislative agenda, as well as sort of a GLI style sort of chamber of commerce for the arts. And so my question really is obviously money and power and advocacy are often tied together, and has there been any conversation amongst you and the board about building a really effective action network or building some sort of legislative agenda that we could bring to address a lot of these things? Or is that a conversation that you and perhaps Lori Meadows might have about creating a third-party organization like Arts Kentucky that was at one point doing that? So.
Yeah, that's a great question. And 3 days ago, I received a phone call from the governor's office, and they've asked the Fund for the Arts to partner with LexArts, that's Jim Clark, in Lexington, on February 2nd, on Arts Day, to conduct a 1.5-hour advocacy session where we're going to teach, I think there'll be 104 of the Kentucky Art Partners of the Kentucky Arts Council recipient funds that will come to that session, and we're going to start that dialogue. And I think that's a great idea. If we want to say, where do we go from here as we get up and leave this place today? Do we just leave and go away and talk about what you like, what you didn't like? Can't believe she said that. Can't believe he did this. They didn't answer this. They didn't even talk about that. Let's talk about what are we going to do. I'm very action oriented. What are we going to do when we leave here? And I think the question is not what is the Fund for the Arts going to do? What am I going to do as an individual? What kind of conversations am I willing to have with people that I speak with? You ask yourself these questions. You may have just opened a door for a great action step for us to come together and create a group that becomes an advocacy group. What would be wrong with doing that?
Well, there's state laws for the Kentucky Arts Council, first of all. Great idea. It may be able to be achieved, but when I've talked to Lori Meadows about this, actually, I get pushback based upon laws and lobbying, and there's legal, political.
That's the third party.
But that's what we have Lacey for to help us.
Oh wait, we're not. Yeah, you cannot. We're not going to go lobbying the.
Right.
There's a difference between lobbying and advocacy. Maybe the first step is to have a session, a couple of hours, where we learn about advocacy, what it is and what it isn't. And the Center for Nonprofit Excellence, led by Kevin Connolly, has a wonderful program. I attended it last week, and Phil Amshaw came, an attorney spoke, and there were 2 other speakers. It was helpful. And Kevin will put that together for us if we were interested, as a first step to learn the process.
That'd be very good. I think so. I think teaching people about how
you like that, Julie?
How to move that process forward. Okay, come on, Mrs. Jack, you're listening. so that you
Okay.
know how to move forward and get something done.
Can the fund be helpful with that? Yes, thank you, Emily, that's a good idea. You want to be on that committee?
Of course, Barbara.
Thank you.
CJ, go ahead.
Yeah. I'd like in part to respond to something that you said, the gentleman back here, about the lack of exposure, the lack of critical writing. As an artist who has been in this community for a long, long time and worked, I can tell you that things have gotten better. And I have been at points in my life content that we're making progress. But I'd also like to say, here we are, a room full of artists, a room full of artists and people who are obviously interested in the arts. Number one, I'm delighted with this conversation, and I feel a lot better about what is happening in this community today. And a lot happened as a result of the opportunity that we had in 11 months. So that's one thing. But I'm also frustrated, and I don't mean to pick on you or anybody here, but I think we as artists, we do a lot of complaining. We really do a lot of complaining. As if talking about a situation that has existed for years will somehow improve. What we really need to do is partner with the sense of what I hear in this meeting. And we have to get off our own duff, for God's sake.
Absolutely.
You know, make it happen. There's not enough money in this world to feed our wishes and desires and our disappointment with the recognition of the arts in the United States. You know, and we can talk about other countries where there is more support for the arts. Many times. But the only thing that you can really do, and I think we as artists have a hard time, at least visual artists, doing it, because we basically deal with ourselves. It's a very solitary activity being an artist. Very solitary. It doesn't have to be, but in most cases. So if you want to make something happen, it seems to me that what we hear here today is we've got to use the resources that have been generously offered and that we've been told about. But instead of having an idea and then saying, oh yeah, that's a good idea, but it's just too hard. It's, get off your rear end. And I'm sure people will join